What is up, my friends? Chad here. This one is going to be interesting. Today I'm going to tell you why I moved across the country to live alone. Okay, I think a lot of people are interested in this idea, and especially me, I'm basically living what was my dream like a few years ago, like I'd say back in like 2023. It was like a year or two after I graduated college. I was still living at home with my parents, and I was trying to make things work. And I was frustrated with how, college didn't really set me up in the right way in terms of knowing what to do with my life. And I know that's the purpose of college. You're supposed to like find a degree, pick a major, and then specialize, and then, think ahead and plan like a job to do after. And to be fair, I didn't do any of that. But it was a period of my life where I graduated, was living at home for a couple years, doing, working some jobs that were not like exciting to me, but I was just thought that that was the route that everybody takes, and that eventually I'll just make more and more money, and then things will be good and good and good, and then eventually I'll have enough saved to retire, like when I'm like 60 or so, and then just live. And so that's kind of the narrative and path that I kind of embarked on, but it was through this period that I had something inside me was calling me for something else. And it was during this period where, yeah, I was desiring to escape and try and get out of the situation I was in. I wanted to move away from home, but for some reason there were some things blocking me, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. But yeah, I had a desire to just drop everything, move away, travel, go somewhere, spend time to actually do what I hadn't been able to do through college, through living at home with, friends in my hometown and people that I grew up with, which was just sit with myself and try and figure things out. And then there's more clarity to come in terms of how that works and how I've developed in that way in terms of listening to your intuition and knowing how to honor that. But um, among all the distraction that school, college, whatever it is for you, that provides in terms of partying, socializing to crazy extents, right? Only caring about like the weekends and then using even weekdays to like go and party as well. And then yeah, in the hometown, it's kind of just like every weekend is spent. You go out, you escape, you get away from the job that you worked so hard on, and it drains you, but that's how work is, right? So this gives very little time for people to basically think for themselves, to say that better, because a lot of our lives up to that point is somebody else thinking for us. And that's what also had drove a lot more desire in me, and maybe pain as well, of staying the same and staying in that situation, was that I had listened to the path that the education system was putting me toward, that my parents said I should do, that friends normalized, and that other people around me normalized and said that, oh, you should do this. It's weird if you try and do anything outside of this, like outside of getting these types of jobs and just making money and then saving and then doing this. Like there's a norm and there's a narrative that everybody follows. And for me, it wasn't clicking. It wasn't what I thought it was. It wasn't what I thought it was, and that was coming from within me. It wasn't coming from my logical mind. My logical mind wanted to stay safe and comfortable and save up as much as I can with my parents, in living with my parents' house, which by the way I had the luxury to do. Not everybody has that for a period of time, right? Um, but yeah, the pain was starting to get greater and greater, and the external influence started to get heavier and heavier and heavier of, I should do this, I should do this, and you can kind of feel it unconsciously from the people you're surrounded by, where it's like you if you steer any if you steer even just a little bit off path and start thinking about building a business or starting this or doing this, it's indirectly uh unsupported, and you can feel that on an energetic level. And so there was that in combination with a lot of these other invisible expectations that It's not like people around me were telling me, you should do this, Chad, you should do this, Chad, but you can feel it and you can feel it. And that energy was getting too great for me to want to handle. And eventually, what happened, and I'll go deeper into it, was the pain of staying the same. The pain of staying there and following that route became greater than the pain of making that scary change to listen to what my intuition was telling me and calling me toward, which was to, yes, escape, go and travel, go and be you for a while. Because I frankly hadn't been being me. And I believe most people aren't to like up until their early 20s when they're being told what to do, literally. Like there's very little time when you actually start to think for yourself. So like when people are like 22, 23, 24, like you're actually like 3 years old. I just spat out there. You're actually like 3 years old because literally 3 years prior to that, you had to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like there's that message. You could extrapolate that out to many more things and many more ways that you were told what to do or should do this and discouraged from doing even what was maybe aligned to you and discouraged from that path. Okay. So this was the point where I started to take things into my own hands for real. My thinking, my direction, and looking back on, I'm grateful for all my experiences, but yeah, college wasn't the thing for me. It wasn't what gave me what I wanted. You know what I mean? It gave me 50 grand in debt. And I learned some lessons. Yeah, I learned some lessons and I don't regret it because it helped me see things clearer. It helped me see things clearer that I now have value to share to others. But yeah, I believe that following your intuition, and in some cases for some people it definitely makes sense, right? But not for everybody. Okay. And if you're one of the people like me where you feel like you have this kind of inner voice that's telling you, let's do something different. Let's do something different. It's kind of like if you go into an ice cream shop. This is a good example of what I like MJ DeMarco's book around the script. It's called Unscripted, but he talks about this general narrative that people are unquestionably following. And the metaphor I like to put on it is like, let's say you walk into an ice cream shop and there's like six flavors of ice cream, right? This can represent like the small pool of like paths to take in life that society and your parents and education system will point you toward. Like, oh, doctor, accountant, architect, lawyer, like, these types of things where it's like that's what you should do. You know what I mean? And so you're like, cool, all right, so vanilla, chocolate, this. All right, let's try vanilla. Let's go all in on vanilla. And they're like, well, you have to really eat vanilla every day for a while, okay? And it's like, okay, let's do that. And then one day you go into the coffee shop. I mean, the ice cream shop. Did I say coffee shop before? Ice cream shop. This is an ice cream shop. And then there's a curtain in the back. And there's a curtain. And then you finally you're like, what's behind that curtain? And you're like, oh, usually nobody ever asks about that. Like, I don't know if I can show you that. And you're like, come on, like show me. Like, I'm actually open to seeing what's behind that. And then they open the curtain and there's hundreds of thousands of flavors. There's pistachio, there's Rocky Road, there's chocolate, there's double chocolate, there's vanilla swirl, there's mint chocolate chip, there's caramel. What else? Are we getting too excited about ice cream? But that's the essence of it. And then you're like, holy crap, like I thought it was just this. There's so many. Like what I need to explore and try some different flavors and see what flavor that I really like like makes me feel good on a vibratory level. You know what I mean? And so and maybe it's a few. Like you can also pick a few. I have a few flavors. Like I make music, I do YouTube videos, I read different all kinds of stuff and I talk about it and how it relates to how I want to provide impact for people. Okay, but that's the essence of like what that encapsulates the problem. That's the problem. And not everybody's meant for vanilla or chocolate. Some people are. Some people on a soul level they are, but not everybody is. Okay, and so this is why nothing is cookie cutter, and this is why you have to take things into your own thinking. Okay. And this is why I moved away and chose to move away from the external influences that were causing an energetic discouragement unconsciously. And yes, I could have worked around it, but it was much easier and the path to, and I'll tell you what happened, but the path to being independent was more in line with dealing with that situation there and staying there and putting up with the external influences. Okay. So what did I do? And how can you get value from this? So first thing is I got a different job. I got a different job, random job in Baltimore. It actually wasn't random. It was in line with what I was trying to do at the time, which was freelance copywriting. And so I got a job at a publishing house to work in their support team, kind of like a sales role. It was a sales role. But the long-term goal for me was to like do copywriting there. But it was also it was a good vehicle for me to get out of home. And like it was as simple as just hop on an interview. There's more to it. I'm very strategic in my approach to landing jobs. I've landed a handful of jobs at this point, specific jobs, competitive jobs. I help people do this. I've helped people land very desirable roles. Okay, but that are aligned. And that's one of the biggest things as well, that you want to do something that's aligned to you. And sometimes people who want to build a business, you want to make sure that you're supporting yourself with the right role that can give you the flexibility, freedom, and support you need to do that as well. Okay. That's for another time, but I ended up just moving away, getting a job, moving away, booking an Airbnb in that place ahead of time before my start date. Then while in the Airbnb, found some apartments to live in. I shared with two other people actually in a shared apartment. It was pretty big and decent. It was the first time I had like my own really big space, and I was completely alone in the sense that I had no connections there prior, right? So I just went there alone, right? And what this did was exciting. It gave me a fresh new start. It gave me a fresh place to work on what I wanted to work on. And I started to be drawn to outside of work, I started to be drawn to making YouTube videos. This is when I actually like really started posting consistently on my YouTube channel and stuff like that. I remember every day after work, I would drive to this field and I would post a video. I would just film a video out in the field. You can still see some of mine. I think I've taken some down that were kind of like, um, I'll put them back up, but like I kind of cleaned up my channel in terms of like what I talk about. But yeah, that was when I started doing that. Um, and it was refreshing, right? And then after that, I decided to get into remote sales because I wanted more flexibility because I knew like the entrepreneurship route is for me, right? I want to try and move toward that and try and build like a creative type of business. And so I got into a remote role, which would give me that more freedom and flexibility. And so what that allowed me to do also was start traveling. I started to live in Airbnbs for periods of time. I actually went to Brooklyn and was living with a couple of roommates for a while working remotely in sales, and that allowed me to like explore the city and all that stuff. But yeah, then I was hopping from Airbnbs and I was alone, and this was just the best feeling ever. Like honestly, there's not much stopping people from doing this. Just other than their own knowledge of how to like support themselves and do these things. This is what I aim to also share and help people with. But yeah, and then once I did that, I finally was like making good money from my sales role. And I was and I was able to get my own apartment, and this brings me to now where I've been living in this apartment for over a year now. Um, or just about a year. But But yeah, like I found an apartment with a pool, a gym, everything I wanted, big space all to myself, my own bathroom, my own walk-in closet, my own kitchen, and it was my dream. Yeah, and I was like, oh, like this is amazing now. Like and it what it did was gave me the space and also, being in a place where I don't know anybody, I didn't know anybody prior as well. Like it started to allow me to deepen that connection with myself. And it started to allow the clarity to emerge, but also allow me to trust that and allow me to honor that and give myself the space and the time to be in what I call a creative sanctuary to work on it, right? To start moving in that direction. And so there's many things that have crystallized and there's many lessons I've learned during this time of living alone, way, way, way away from home in many different places. Um, and there's many things that I've learned and it's very valuable. And if you can do this, if you want to do this, I aim to help you if that's something you're interested in. And I actually The second link in the description, you can book a call directly with me if you're someone who's like, I just want to get out and I want to do this and I want to know how to land this role or whatever. That I can definitely help you with that. So check that out if you feel called to. Um, and yeah, what else do I want to share in this video? Hmm, let me see. Yeah, so I think how can you do this for yourself and why aren't you able to? Is another thing is like you're too comfortable. The pain of staying where you are isn't great enough for you to go against the narrative you've been following, to go against the expectations from other people. And what to do there is a very powerful practice you can do is sit for a moment, close your eyes, and envision the end of your life. Envision you as an old person sitting at a window, looking back on your life. What will it feel like if you had just stayed the route you're going now? Right? This can help amplify the pain. Now, if it's aligned and you go, you know what, I'm happy. I think it's good. All the best to you. Like that's amazing. That means that can indicate that maybe you're following your intuition, right? But if you're getting senses of chaos and being like, I can't live with that, I can't live with that, the pain is going to get bigger. And that is going to help you realize and be able to have the courage to step into what you're scared of doing, that your intuition is calling you toward, that inner voice, that inner whisper that we all have, that for some, especially if you're watching this, is probably getting louder and louder and louder. It's going to allow you to dip into listening to that, which is a scary and uncomfortable thing, but is going to lead you onto the path of what is going to be the most fulfilling. It's going to be unimaginably, it's going to crystallize an unimaginable situation in your life, path in your life where you're fulfilled and living in abundance and safe. But it goes against the grain usually of what everybody's doing because it's your unique intuition. It's your unique soul's path of why you came here. Okay. And that's a scary thing to lean into. But when you do, and I've seen this in my own personal life, it's completely reoriented roles that I'm in, um, things that I'm doing, with routine that I have on a daily basis, what feels right, ways of operating in my being. It's reoriented all of these things as I've honored it. And there's so much depth to that. And that's why I want to make more videos. But yeah, the whole essence of what I talk about is really helping people get in touch with truly their authenticity, what is meant for them, how to listen to your inner voice and calling, right? And honor that and break out of the heaviness and the energetic blanket that is on you that's pulling you and keeping you in the comfortability narrative of vanilla chocolate and Rocky Road and the small pool of ice cream and keeping you from understanding and being drawn toward what ice cream flavor is actually good for you in this life. And maybe it's multiple, right? It's funny. It's a funny analogy, I know. But if that feels at all like your situation, and if you've watched this far into the video and you resonate with what I'm talking about, I'm actually curating a space for people where I actually am helping people in a deeper way. It's not a one-on-one space, but it's a community. It's called Authentic Integrators, and the first link in the description is you can check that out. So if you're someone who has that whisper, who wants to escape their unfulfilling situation, whether it's a role you're in, whether it's uh, the living situation you're in, you don't know how to get out of, whether it's you just want to feel more connection with your authenticity and intuition and want to know how to listen to that and get clear on what your authentic path is moving toward. And how to move toward it and get clarity there. That's what this community is for. Okay. We meet once a week on a Zoom call and we're also active in the chat. We meet once a week on a live call where we do a group session called Authentic Gathering. And this is where we just bring whatever we have, whatever's coming up for us in the present moment, and we ground ourselves within ourselves and practice listening to our intuition and deepening that connection with presence in ourselves and being. It's very powerful and a lot of shifts can happen from that. Okay. And so yeah, check that out. And then the second link is one-on-one calls if you feel called to book that with me. The third one is my socials. It's I hang out on Substack, I hang out on Instagram, and I hang out on my music channel, which you could check out all three of those things there. All right. I enjoyed this video today. I hope you enjoyed it as well. I hope you got some value from it. Let me know in the comments whatever came up, if anything did. And yeah, hope to see you in another one. All right. I'm out.